But
well,
I don't
if I could vote, I'd vote for Labour just for 0 seats.
No.
Because fuck the
shit. But I don't want our entire side to get 0 seats. I don't think we should be voting for Labour.
I mean, it might be a tactical choice. And I hate to say something like that, but I think it might be a tactical choice to vote Labour only to accelerate a little bit and let people see, like, is this what you want?
We've already been suffering from acceleration. We don't need more of it. What we need is time for the people to figure out what's going on and make the changes. Have their indirect influence affect the establishment. Our opponent, I think, would like a bit more speed.
I agree again with Ginger. I think that if Reform got into power, they would turn into a carbon copy of the Tories, and that's my fear.
That's still better than Labour.
Well, I said monarchists vote Labour, because the whole idea, because it has to be a little bit accelerationist. I think in that you have to, like, if people are going to keep voting for this absolute nonsense bullshit, then show them what they're voting for. Let them live it. Because it's the same thing under Biden, where it's like when people had to live, yes, it's going to happen either way. I mean, it's not like the conservatives are far better or even much better. Even like maybe Labour will be worse, obviously. And I'm saying this as someone who lives here too. So I mean, it's not like this might be an American. I have to live under it as well. Okay. So like, I'm not going to have fun under this either way. I think though, the issue here though, it is this accelerationism versus, principle debate that we're dealing with. Now, I think you should vote on principles on principle. However, I don't know, and obviously I would prefer that it be Reform UK. I think, and in theory. However, I don't know how you get people to wake up. I don't know if you can wake people up. I've looked at all the data on this, and I have become a little black pilled on that, in that I think you can't wake people up except by showing them via having lived it. Yeah. They have to live the consequences of their actions.
But that isn't our problem. People are already fairly well awake. They just need good options. I think they are. As I said,
they don't have any good options, true.
Indeed.
Tice is not a good option.
I think, indeed. The polls that we saw with the majority supporting the big ideas of Brexit, including lower immigration, the majority of the British public, according to that study.
Yes.
We already have the people on our side. And now, I agree with you, it's difficult to persuade people, but they have lived through it for quite a long time, and they're on our side for most of this stuff. So we just need to give them options. And Reform is not a good option, but it is better than the other two.
It is. It is unquestionably a better option for good things to happen out of the three. However, and I don't think is this black pilled? It probably is. I can tend to be a little bit black pilled. That's
a little black pill, yeah.
Yeah, it's my monarchy stuff. It's because I think democracy is a sham. So, but if we're gonna participate in the sham, then I would say again on principle, vote Reform. If you want to go the accelerationist route, 0 seats, get Tory boys.
And I can kind of understand it. And I agree.
I would say the best way to start the people is waking them up by getting rid of Jess Phillips and say, I wouldn't even elect you. Just start going through. Anybody who can't work in the interest of your country's best interest.
You'd be giving Jess Phillips power. Could you live with yourself? God. You'll be. Do you know who the Secretary of State's going to be?
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Or whatever. I don't know what was the name for it. Minister of State. I can't remember what our name for it is.
Second in charge.
Diane Abbott,
essentially. Oh, fucking unbelievable!
Actually, I don't think that's true. That would have been true under Corbyn, but she's still in there.
Diane Abbott.
She's still in there. I don't think she's Secretary of State or whatever we call it. But
right. She's still in there. She is still in there, though.
As is Jess Phillips, somewhere down there.
God, and Jess Phillips and Diane Abbott. Oh my God. Oh, but hang on. Let people experience it. You say you want this. Look at what you say that you want. That's if people say it, sometimes maybe I think people need to be shown the consequences of their actions. Right? You ask for something, you get what you deserve.
Well,
let's go full Joker pilled on it. How about that?
I can see the perspective. Yeah,
I am very fiery, Aydin.
I am gratified at least, Aydin, that you are open to the idea that people's minds can change according to evidence over a long period of time. And I agree. And I think that I believe that is why democracy does work. And in this case, I think all they need is options.
It's operant conditioning, isn't it? Which, so, the basic operant conditioning stuff is that there's positive punishments, positive rewards, and negative rewards.
We're talking about fairly simple people. It's not far off Pavlovian.
No, this is for children. Yeah, so it is one step away from Pavlov in that sense as operant conditioning. So let them say, okay, you've engaged in a behavior, you vote labor, and then here's what you get. Now, the problem, the major problem with that is that the reward and or the punishment is very far removed temporally from the act of voting. So someone goes and votes, they put their vote in there, and then they don't immediately get slapped, right, for doing something dumb. And it's difficult psychologically for people to sometimes connect those two things, that I did an action that resulted in a bad outcome. It's hard to connect those things when that bad outcome happens over the course slowly over 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah. It is still doable, though, especially for people that are attuned to long-termism. But yes, I agree.
Higher than 85 IQ, which is not a lot.
No, that is most, but it's not all. So yeah, I agree with you that that does happen, but it doesn't reduce the effect to zero; just reduces it. But I'm not sure you can do better because these things do take time.
It's going to have to be longitudinal change. Yeah, people are going to have to figure this shit out. And they have to figure out for themselves. Yes, you can't be told what to
violent uprising or something.
But you can't. You really persuasion research, which is my primary. So I guess my secondary area of research, persuasion stuff, is really consistent on those. You can't persuade people of anything that they don't want to persuade themselves into thinking already. So the only way I think to get outside of that, for the most part, right? Like if you're just talking at somebody, you're not going to persuade them.
Yeah.
They can change their opinions, but they have to be convinced that they themselves change their opinions of their own volition internally. They have to think that they change their minds, and living through shit is a good way of doing that.
Yes. Literally, the experience modifies the neural net directly. I'm sure you've seen the research. I would contend that I have seen people being persuaded. I think that there is a very narrow range of approaches that you can use to expressing yourself, which do actually persuade people. It doesn't have to be subversive. You can do it completely honestly and still succeed. And I aim for that because I think it's most successfully and pleasantly diplomatic whilst also being very honest. And I have actually seen people be persuaded by my ideas through doing this.
It's social judgment theory. You have to. People have individual anchor points under social judgment theory. People who have individual anchor points, and you have to fall within their latitude of acceptance for them to be able to move their opinion. If someone does not already have a latitude of acceptance that can contain your viewpoint, they can't be moved. There's a latitude of non-committal, which is that they can make a good argument, but they're not going to change their positions. And then there's the latitude of rejection, which falls on either side of the existing anchor point. That's social judgment theory.
I can't see why you fell asleep, Carl.
Sorry. Whoops.
No, it's
You expected me to not have a theory for this?
I know. I appreciate it, actually. I'll say Field is saying that it's like the fats who can't connect eating ice cream and cake in a pizza burrito every day to not being able to fit in an airliner seat. It's similar to that. And I agree with where you're coming from, Aydin, but I will modify that because what we're expecting them to do is not to realize, some bad thing happened here, so I'll think the connections back and policy and people and positions of power and implication and accident all the way back to, it was labor. No, we're not expecting that. Some people can do that, can make that connection, but most people can't.
You have to have over 110 IQ, I think, probably to be able to do that.
What we're expecting instead is for people to see, that Muslim just that kid. I don't like that. And then remember that, and that's it for now.
50 years, though.
Yeah, but that's sometimes how long it takes. But people seeing it happen is very rare. So they observe stimulus. They modify their impression of that stimulus by of the objects involved by the stimulus observed. And then when they're looking to vote, They listen to what's being said and they like one or the other more. It's very simple, but it does not actually involve an understanding of the party structure or the party policy or anything. It's just which one seems to say things that I like, and what they like is determined by the stimulus they've experienced. So I agree it's about what they live through, but it doesn't have to be that complicated. And that kind of determination is not only, it's imperfect, but it's not bad, but almost anyone can do it. We just need honest people. They don't even have to be intelligent, just honest.
We are hoping, and we are hoping against hope, that behavioral analysis, such as the type that I just described, which is ran up against, and would win out against what it runs up against, which is social identity theory, which is that I identify with this group, I consider them, I'm part of them, and that is inherently tribal. People will just do the same things that they've always done. And then that runs into cognitive dissonance, wherein because I did this thing in the past, because I have enacted this behavior, I cannot admit that I'm wrong. So then I cannot change my behavior in the future, because that would mean admitting to being wrong, which causes psychological pain in the same area of the brain that causes physiological pain.
Yeah.
Bleh, I can't talk. So you're asking people to essentially potentially hurt themselves, cause themselves pain, which they would do if they were to change their minds. The social identity theory that's taught by Hogg and Oakes, 1986, is the seminal on that. That one would probably be, I think, beating out the work in terms of the other stuff of what is more immediately beneficial.